Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. It's been a few days. It was my birthday at the weekend. I was at a party, I had a load of stuff organised with myself and my friends, and I even did watch the game at the table that we were at. We had Ari's phone, watching it like this, and quite frankly, once we scored, I kind of got a bit wavy. So from that point onwards, it all kind of deteriorated in the sense of 6 things we learned. Can I coherently make a video talking about the Brighton game? Probably not, so we're going to let this one pass. And then we've got Spurs at the weekend, which is of course the biggest game of the season. There's absolutely no way that I'm going to be partying again for the Spurs game because my birthday's done now. I'm 28 years old, I've got to relax. I've got to be a bit more smart and mature about these things. But today, I do want to discuss a little bit about Chelsea's window up until this point right now. Good start to the season, a 1-0 win at Everton on the opening day. Frank Lampard, all of the additional narratives there. It is a huge result. It wasn't the best performance, but Koulibaly, Sterling and Cucurella, the 3 new signings, absolutely fantastic. The 3 best players we had on the field. I want to discuss a bit today about the news regarding player exits. What does this mean about the squad numbers? And are Chelsea going to have to invest in the same amount of players as we're going to be getting rid of? And in which case, how does that actually impact the business that we are going to conduct between now and the end of the transfer window? So we're going to go through all of the exits that have happened, all of the exits that look like they're about to happen, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the priorities as to where Chelsea's transfer window has to head as a result of selling these players. I think there's no way that we can let go of 5 players that we're going to talk about today and not bring anyone else in. Yes, we're working on Aubameyang. Yes, there's been contact from Todd Boehly to Frenkie De Jong, but is that really the position that we need to be looking at? Should we be focusing on Aubameyang, looking for a striker? But first things first, AS Monaco have signed Malang Sarr. He's going on loan. 15 million euros will be the fee as the option to buy come the end of the season. Malang Sarr was a player who at times looked good, but we got to remember we signed this guy for free. He's playing alongside Thiago Silva, he's playing alongside Tony Rudiger, 2 world-class defenders. So when you've got a world-class goalkeeper and 2 other world-class centre-backs next to you, even I could probably look semi-decent. And I say that, and I really don't mean that with any kind of severity whatsoever, or sincerity. I think it's probably the word that I should be using. But Malang Sarr, we signed him on a free. We've always said with Sarr that it looked more likely that this was just smart, intelligent business from Chelsea. When you don't sign a player for a fee, and then a couple of years later you sell him for 15 million euros, we're rubbing our hands and laughing with this one. And I think if he does play for Monaco, I think the way that the loan is working is that if he plays a certain amount of matches this season, which he probably will, Monaco is a step down from Chelsea. The league is a step down. I think Sarr did okay in the Premier League, so I don't expect him to struggle in Ligue 1. And I think that 15 million euros is excellent business for Chelsea. When we think about 15 million for Malang Sarr, and then we move into 20 million euros for Timo Werner, this is an interesting one here. I've seen multiple different takes on the Timo Werner sale. Timo Werner is no longer a Chelsea player. He's a European champion with us, but I think we've got to really conclude Timo Werner's time at Chelsea now with some honesty here. And it's not because he's gone now that I go from always saying I actually like Timo Werner. I stand by this. I always liked Timo Werner. But I think one of the most important things to think about when you spend the kind of money that we spent on Werner as a striker, when we signed him for the records that he had at Leipzig, with the amount of goals this guy was scoring, Chelsea really anticipated something much more than we evidently got with Timo Werner. When you spend all your time praising a striker for his work rate and what he does off the ball, as opposed to actually scoring goals, that's when you know that you've not really got yourself a proper striker. And especially when Chelsea are not looking for a 10, 15 goal a season striker. We're looking for a 20, 25 goal a season striker to be able to compete with Erling Haaland, who's pretty much confirmed that he's on his way to probably scoring 25 goals in his first year in the Premier League. Timo Werner we thought was that guy. He did score a few. His record is certainly nothing to shout about. I've seen a couple of takes where there are even Chelsea strikers who have got significantly worse reputation amongst the Chelsea fan base over the years with a far better record than Timo Werner. In the Premier League, he couldn't cut it. There were individual moments of brilliance. There were individual games where he'd score a couple or create a few. He was also very unlucky. I think I will give that caveat in there as well. Many goals marginally offside, but that is what you buy when you buy a top striker. The margins are in favour of the team trying to score. And in this case, Timo Werner was always on the wrong side of those margins. But 20 million euros, this is a tough one to take because we have clearly lost out when it comes to what we got from Werner, what we spent on him, and now what we're bringing back in for him is significantly less than what we spent on him. Yes, he has a European champion medal. He's a Club World Cup winner at the club. Multiple finals as well. But at the end of the day, Timo Werner is not going to go down as one of Chelsea's greatest ever strikers. We spent 150 million on two players who didn't last any more than 2 seasons, and now we've let them go. Lukaku basically for free this season, and Werner for just 20 million euros. This has to go down as a bad piece of business for Chelsea. Just not even the fee that we got now. The problem is when a player doesn't improve, you did spend a lot of money on him, you're never going to be able to recoup the same amount of money, even if Timo Werner will go ahead, and he will. He will go back to Leipzig and he will score more goals than he did at Chelsea. It's just a fact. If he doesn't know, then well, one season we got finesse. But we move into Marcos Alonso. It is probably hours at the most, a day or two away from Marcos Alonso signing for, guess who? Barcelona. I want to speak a little bit here about integrity. Marcos, you want to go and sign for a club who don't pay their players? Are you sure, mate? Are you really sure? That's just my little dig at Barcelona that I have to throw into every video at the moment because I can't stand that football club. But it's going to be a bit less than 10 million. It is, again, Alonso has been a good signing for Chelsea. Over the years, he won a Premier League, was monumental with Antonio Conte in charge alongside Victor Moses in the right wing-back position. Marcos Alonso's time at Chelsea, I think, has to go down as a success overall. Scored goals, was always reliable when the last resort. He wasn't reliable all the time. That would be very unfair for me to say. He wasn't. There were some games where he was absolutely atrocious. Think about Bayern Munich. Think about West Brom away when he walks down onto the bus. Marcos Alonso, probably not going to go down as like an all-time Chelsea great left back, no. But he was decent. He was very decent. And I think for the amount of time he managed to stay at the club, just as we were about to give up on him, he'd show up again and he'd score big goals. I remember being at Wembley, again with a massive hangover many years ago, and he scored 2 goals that day, and I didn't even know if I could celebrate, but I bloody well did. Marcos Alonso, thank you for everything you've done. Timo, thank you for everything you've done. And Malang Sarr, thank you for your season as well. But these players are set to leave Chelsea if they haven't already done so. So, what does this mean about players coming in? Well, the Barcelona-Chelsea feud is kind of taking a bit of a turn because obviously they're taking Alonso. They're not stealing players now. We're talking about business between the two clubs. So Barcelona could well be open to getting rid of one of Memphis Depay or Pierre, Emerick, Aubameyang. I've said that Memphis could be a good bit of business, especially if he does manage to become a free agent. Aubameyang, I do think this could solve a problem at Chelsea. Callum Hudson-Odoi is also linked with Borussia Dortmund, before I forget about that one as well. We lose Werner and we lose Hudson-Odoi, and all of a sudden we go from having multiple players who can play in the wide areas to looking a little bit short. And I do think between now and the end of the window, Aubameyang would be a good option because not only can he go through the middle, can also be used out on the left as well. I think that seeing Sterling on the left, even though Sterling has looked good in the false 9 role so far, Sterling on the left with Aubameyang through the middle, I think makes Chelsea a bit stronger. Yes, Aubameyang isn't young. Yes, he used to play for Arsenal, but if you've not seen the All or Nothing video on the Amazon Prime right now, the series, well, it's not exactly like that one ended well either. Mikel Arteta was furious in the end with Aubameyang, got rid of the guy, stripped him of the captaincy, and then from that point on, there was probably only really one way that was going to go when you've got a player with the ego and the know-how of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. As a senior player, when you're a senior player and you're stripped of the captaincy, you're going to try and force your way out. Chelsea could have signed this guy before. We didn't. And the problem I have with Aubameyang is the wages, is the ego, and is he one of those flashy characters that disrupts what is looking like a stable dressing room right now at Chelsea. We've not seen many complaints from many players about the manager, even though Thomas Tuchel was chopping and changing. There are a lot of senior figures or older players in the squad who are not necessarily always playing as much as they would want to, expect to, or need to at this phase in the career, such as a Hakim Ziyech, not picked every single week, but we don't really see him publicly coming out and attacking Tuchel. So, Frenkie De Jong, do I think this one will happen? It really, really could. At the moment, it's about whether or not Frenkie De Jong... Mason, you don't like Frenkie De Jong, bro? You don't want to sign Frenkie De Jong? The dog don't want Frenkie De Jong. A lot of other people say they don't want Frenkie De Jong as well because Conor Gallagher's here. Central midfield shouldn't be the priority. I still think we might need one more defender and then a striker. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Majority of the video today has been about player exits. I think as this week goes on, Chelsea are going to need to speed up the business now for players coming in. So we will see things happen. Conversations need to be built upon. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate your patience. Sorry about the weekend. It was my birthday. Let me off, please. But anyway, subscribe to GBFC if you are new. Hit the like button if you did enjoy this video. Come on, you Blues.